So I've been playing Valorant for the past few days. I got in the first day that the beta came out. Uh, it's a really fun game. I'm really enjoying it, and I know that it can be really tough, especially if even if you've had experience with CS:GO in the past, or if you haven't, it's still going to be pretty tough to get used to the game. And it's going to really help you if you guys know exactly what the best weapons are and what you should go for when you're taking a look at that buy menu for the first time and you have no clue what to go for. So I'm going to be running you guys through a tier list of the best guns that you should go for and what guns you should completely stay away from. We're going to be starting off with F tier, the absolute worst in the game, and that's the tactical knife. Only time that you would ever want to use your tac knife is if you're sneaking up behind someone, they can't hear you, and you stab them in the back. That's the only time that this weapon is somewhat useful, is when you're trying to take stealth kills, and it actually is kind of useful when you're going for stealth kills, because their teammates won't know what happened unless they're like talking in like party chat or something. Then we have E tier. These guns are pretty weak, probably down towards F tier, like towards the worst, but these are actual guns other than just a tac knife. You have the classic pistol, which is the one you start off with as soon as you start a game. This does 78 headshot damage, 26 body, and 22 leg damage. The only time that this gun is going to be useful is if you nail headshots every time, but it's not everyone is just like Shroud. Then we have the Frenzy. This is a machine pistol. This one's actually pretty good to start from the game, but it's still, especially in mid to late game when everyone actually has like an assault rifle or an SMG, this thing can't really compete. It does the same exact damage as the classic. It has 78 headshot damage, 26 body, and 22 leg damage. This thing, it's not so good, not very reliable for mid to late game. Then we have the D tier. This is below average. We have the Shorty, which is it's the sawed-off shotgun. It does 36 headshot damage, 12 body damage, and 10 leg damage. I'm putting it at D tier mainly because, especially like I said with the mid to late game scenario, everyone's going to have the best of the best guns by that time. They're going to have all their abilities. And the only time you really want to pull this gun out is if you're playing as the character Jet. And you can absolutely rush people and get right next to them to take them out in one hit. But it's not very likely. Also, I will be doing a best operators tier list in a future video if this video gets a good amount of likes. So yeah, hit the like button if you want that. Then we have the C tier. These guns are pretty average and something somewhat decent that it's a solid choice, but definitely not one of the best that you guys could go for. We have the Ghost pistol. This thing is absolutely beautiful to start off the round with. This is my go-to pistol when you're starting off on the very first round of your game. It does 105 headshot damage, 33 body shot, and 26 leg damage. This thing is basically a suppressed pistol. If you dink someone in the head, you're gonna absolutely destroy them. It has really good accuracy. All the pistols have really good accuracy. They don't really pack that much of a punch. The fire rate on this gun is pretty good, and it's definitely a solid choice and probably the best choice for when you're starting off your game. Then we have the Bucky. This is a shotgun. I haven't really had too much experience with shotguns. I have used all of the shotguns before, but I don't use them too much. This one does 44 headshot damage, 22 body damage, and 19 leg damage. Really solid, especially for a shotgun, because they can't really overpower the shotguns too much, or else everyone will be using them, and then it'd turn out like Fortnite. But the Bucky is actually a solid choice, and it's pretty average for most of the guns out there. Not the worst, not the best. Next, we have the Judge. This is another shotgun. It does 34 headshot damage, 17 body damage, and 14 leg damage. Now, the reason why it does less damage than the Bucky is a pump, and the Judge is kind of like an SASG. Like it's an automatic shotgun. So they definitely have to nerf that just a little bit. So the damage that they set it at is pretty good. And especially if you're going to be going around corners just spraying that thing, it's a solid choice. Then next you have the Bulldog. The Bulldog is my most hated weapon in the game, mainly due to the fact that it's a little too beefy, the fire rate's pretty slow, and when you ADS, it turns it into a 3-round burst. Some people might like that, and that's why I'm putting it at average, because it can't be based off of my full opinion. It does a decent damage, 116 headshot, but then it gets down to the body damage, and that's when it does 35 body and 30 legs. So this gun is only good for you if you hit most of your shots on the head, and that's when it can be really, really powerful, is if you're nailing your headshots. You're still gonna need like 2 headshots to take down your opponent. Plus, I just don't like the 3-round burst. Then in the B tier, these guns are good and definitely better than the last guns that I listed, but they're definitely not coming up to the best. We have the Stinger, which is an SMG. That's, I think, the cheapest SMG out there. It's right above the other SMG. I'm already forgetting the name. This thing does 67 headshot damage, 27 body damage, and 23 leg damage. This thing is a pretty solid choice. I have used quite a bit of this. It's not my favorite SMG. I definitely would choose the other SMG over it. But this thing, the recoil is way too much, especially with it being an SMG. The fire rate is really good, but that's what makes the kick so bad. And as long as if you like, if you kind of like burst with this gun, or if you're up close and personal, it's absolutely perfect. Then we have the Guardian. I absolutely love this assault rifle. This is the semi-automatic assault rifle. It's like the EBR from Call of Duty. I think that's what it was called. It's basically like the M1 Garand of Valorant. It does 195 headshot damage, which is why I love it so much. And because it's a semi-automatic, you're going to hit most of your headshots. And you can not only work on that in the training, but if you start nailing your headshots, you're going to be one-tapping people here, like left and right. And it does 65 body damage, which is actually quite consistent for a gun like this. And then 49 leg damage. So this gun all around is pretty good. And it's definitely a really solid choice. Then we have the Odin. I didn't really use this gun too much, but I do know the damage for it. And I do know how it controls. And it's pretty good. Definitely better than, you know, the shotguns and the Bulldog and everything. It does 95 headshot damage, 38 body damage, and 32 leg damage. Definitely a solid choice. I don't really have too much to say on this weapon, but it's a pretty good one. Then we have the A tier. These guns are strong, but they're not the best, but they're right there competing with the best. You have the Sheriff. Now, you might be asking, what is a pistol doing this high up in the tier list? Well, I will tell you. It's because this thing is a one-tap machine. This thing does 160 headshot damage, 55 body, and 47 leg damage. Now, you could just hit the dude in the body 3 or 4 times and he'd be done. Or you could just pull out straight shroud mode, and you can absolutely one-tap them, just left and right. A lot of pros are picking up this weapon. Even in late game, it really competes well. This thing has 6 bullets in its clip. It's literally a revolver. If you hit him in the head, the dude's done. Then you have the Marshall. This is one of the 2 snipers. This thing is kind of like a hunting rifle, if that makes sense. It does 202 headshot damage, 101 body damage, and 85 leg damage. Now, the reason why this isn't up in S tier with how high of damage it is because the other sniper is better than it. So I'm going to put it at strong because this gun is really solid, but definitely doesn't have as high a capability as the other sniper that it's competing with. Next, you have the Ares. It is a LMG. It does 72 headshot damage, 30 body damage, 25 leg damage. I didn't use this gun too much, but I've seen people use it. I've seen how consistent this can stay in mid to late game. It's a really good choice, and it's definitely up there with the Sheriff and all of that. Then we have the final tier, the S tier, which is the best of the best. These are literally the best 4 guns that you could go for in the game. And on that second round, after you finish the first one with the pistols and you actually have coins to spend, you're going to want to go with one of these. And after I'm done telling you guys all these 4 weapons, I will tell you which one is my favorite out of all of them. So that can kind of like declare what I feel like is the absolute best gun in the game, because we need to reach that verdict sooner or later. First, we have the Spectre. It does 78 headshot damage, 26 body damage, 22 leg damage. Now, you may be wondering why this is the best of the best with how kind of like medium damage it does. It doesn't do too much headshot damage, kind of like pretty bad body damage. But the reason why it's up there is that silenced SMG, and the fire rate is absolutely beautiful. It's so nice going behind and flanking the enemy team and being able to just pull off some insane plays. I've been able to pull off 4 pieces. Literally last night at the time of recording this, I went 29-11 just by using the Spectre, and I literally got a 4-piece clutch. It was a 1v4. I got a 4-piece clutch to win the round with the Spectre. Well, it was actually a 2v4, but I took out all 4. Next, we have the Phantom. This is a silenced assault rifle. I think this is the very first silenced. I think it's the only silenced assault rifle in the game. It has 156 headshot damage, 39 body damage, and 33 leg damage. Obviously, assault rifles pack a good punch with the head damage, and this thing can absolutely dink people. It can melt people. It's not my favorite assault rifle, but it's definitely up there. It's a really solid gun. Then we have the Vandal. This is basically the AK-47 of the game. To me, it kind of looks more like the AK-74U, but that's just that's the Call of Duty in me coming out. It does 156 headshot damage, 39 body damage, and 33 leg damage. If you can nail people in the head, it's the same as the Phantom. You're going to absolutely put them to sleep. Then you have the Operator. This is the last gun on the list. This is the other sniper that I was talking about that's competing with the Marshall. It does 255 headshot damage, which is 50 more than the Marshall, 150 body damage, which is 50 more than the Marshall, and 127 leg damage, which is also 50 more than the Marshall. This thing literally succeeds in everything that the Marshall couldn't do. This thing is basically the op of the game. It's literally the op from CSGO, This thing, if you connect anyone with it, whether it's in the body or in the head, you're gonna absolutely destroy them. If they come in contact with you, as long as you hit your shots, you're gonna absolutely take them out. Now, I don't suggest going with this if you're first starting out in the game, unless you are really good at snipers on FPS games anyways, but I still definitely wouldn't jump the gun too much and go straight for snipers. I would stick with, like, the Spectre or something as a starting point, and move on to snipers after you get the aiming down. Now, my favorite out of the 4, we have the Spectre, the Phantom, the Vandal, and the Operator. My favorite out of the 4 is the Spectre. This is my favorite gun. It reminds me so much of the MP5. It's just my favorite gun. So if I had to choose a gun that's consistent, does a good amount of damage, and can absolutely rip people to shreds if you're coming up behind them, it's the Spectre. The Spectre is also, that's not the only reason why. Just because it has good fire rate and just because it reminds me of a really good gun from Call of Duty doesn't mean that it's the best. I would understand where you're coming out by saying that, but it's also good for beginners. This gun is it's pretty easy to handle, especially if you're first starting off the game and you're trying to get aiming down and you want to come up kind of close, because the way the maps work is the 2 force fields, like, so you have left, right, and mid. If you're going mid, the 2 force fields are right there next to each other. As soon as you walk out through your force field after it closes, or after it opens up, you're going to come in contact with people. And the Spectre is really good for beginners because they're going to be right up on that wall, and they're going to want to go and get into a fight as soon as possible, and the Spectre will definitely do that job if you're up close and personal like that. So, there's the final verdict. The Spectre, I feel like, is the best gun in the game. The Vandal is probably the second best. If you're not comfortable with the Spectre and you're not comfortable with SMGs in general, I would go with the Vandal. That's a good assault rifle. Obviously, the AK-47 in the game. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. If I did help you, and if you want to see more Valorant, leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Turn on notifications too while you're at it. You might as well. You can get notified every time I upload. This is something kind of new for me. Obviously, we did a whole new game. I also recorded this with a face cam. Usually I just do a normal voiceover through Audacity and just throw it into my editing software. I usually just do a normal voiceover, but this time I actually sat and talked to you guys live with the face cam. And something you guys probably noticed this whole time, which I meant to talk about at the beginning, but I forgot to. The overlays changed. You may be wondering, what's this new logo? Well, it's not mine. It's Team Aware's. I joined Team Aware. If you guys know them, they are a Fortnite team. They're probably going to be spreading into Valorant in the future. I joined them as a content creator. Mainly because I do Battle Royale in general, so I'm very eager to work with them and see what they can help me out with, and it'd be pretty nice to represent them. You can go and, on my channel page, you can go to the other channels, and they will be there. So, yeah, I'm proud to announce that I am Aware Dexterity now. I'm not changing my channel into that, because then that would ruin my whole brand, but you guys get what I'm saying. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.